CTA is done and dusted. After 4 years of non-stop studying, pro bono nogal, you have done it. Finally, you're home free. Then there's articles. Oof. And you've heard about articles. You know, you got to do your time. You got to serve your sentence. The unbearable bosses, the managers and supervisors breathing down your neck, the clients that, through the cold tone of their scarce email correspondence, preemptively seem to hate you. You've never even met. They just know that you're the auditor. It's daunting. It's all daunting. But you still want to grow and make the most of your articles. How? Today we are joined by Vidhya Jayawardena, CASA and co-founder of the Blackbox SA. We chat about how to maximize your 3 years of articles through a fundamental paradigm shift of extreme curiosity. We also chat about how her upbringing drew her to the world of business and subsequently the CA designation, why people problems are the most common in her advisory practice, the importance of critical thinking when surfing social media, why people in the same class are at significantly different stages of the journey, and more. I hope you enjoy. My travelers on the road to CASA. Very quick one. If the show has been adding value, if it has given you some culture, some solace, and some inspiration on the long road to CASA, please give it a rating. It is the one way we can show the world that aspiring CAs are better than we've ever been. Please do that if you're enjoying it. And please do enjoy the show. Welcome back, my people. This is the Road to CA podcast, the show for aspiring chartered accountants to inspire, empower, and inform the difference makers of tomorrow. Guys, today we're joined by a woman of impact, of deep thought and intrigue, and a woman of purpose. She is a CA and currently MD of her own accounting practice, the Blackbox SA, a consultancy practice for accounting, tax, and advisory of growing businesses. Most importantly, though, she loves cooking, she loves food, she loves reading, she loves CrossFit, boxing, and is passionate about seeing people live their purpose, and is a huge advocate of mental health. She's the CA who believes in community. We're joined by Vidhya Jayawardena. Vidhya, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Alunga. Been looking forward to this. I know we've been trying to get a date down for the past few months, so I'm excited that we can sit and chat.
I'm so excited because of how in tune you are. I think that there isn't much of a voice of the intuitive in the finance space. I know it doesn't sound like it mixes, thinking about feeling and intuition and listening when you think about numbers, but I think it's so important to get down to who you are. So I am excited. I am so excited for this. Let's go back, Vidhya. Rewind to where CA, the whole thing, began for you.
So I don't remember a specific time where I said, okay, I want to be a CA.
Oh.
What I do remember is that when someone would ask me when I was small, what do you want to be or what do you want to do when you grow up? All I would say is like, I want to be in business. I have no idea why I said that or what, I think I know why I said that, but I didn't know what it meant. So growing up, my parents have always been in their own business. So that's all I've known. That's what I've seen. That's what I've grown up with. So I think the natural thing for me is like, I want to be in business. As I went into school, primary school, high school, I did very well academically. And I think when I was looking for what do I want to study, for some reason, like the chartered accountancy route came up. I think it also had to do with, if I do want to go the business route, what's the one degree that can really propel me, elevate me, so like help me get there. Even though I don't think I still didn't know what this business in inverted commas meant. But I'm like, that degree would probably help me get there.
Was it your parents, eh?
Yeah,
the business inspiration.
So my parents actually are immigrants. They moved to South Africa, both from like two different, Mauritius and Sri Lanka.
Wow.
And they came here actually in like pre-apartheid times.
Sure.
And they managed to build businesses and, you know, like successfully provide a life for 3 kids and themselves. And that's, you know, I'm so honored, I'm so fortunate and blessed to have seen and be part of a household where your parents have sacrificed so much. And I think only as I've grown up have I seen what that sacrifice was, especially coming in non-English was not their first language, no support, no family in place. They come into this foreign land. They come in the time that, you know, there's a lot of transition going in South Africa, obviously with being during apartheid times, and as they were transitioning towards democracy. And to be able to be in that space that my parents provided for us and build businesses. So not just come and work, but they built businesses that were able to provide for their family. And that was, you don't realize how much impact it has. It's only when you grow up and you look in retrospect that you're like, you know, I understand why I probably gravitate towards wanting to do business, which probably means another word for it is to build something.
Sure. I think, yeah, that's pretty profound because business is such a big word. Like, what? There's things that we, you know, in the spectrum of like business people and people who aspire to be in business, there's things that we actually like in business. And so it's a bit too nebulous. It's like, maybe you like investments. Maybe you like, you know, in fact, let's not get into the technical terms. Maybe you like people. And maybe that's the thing you saw in business. Because business is people. And for you, it's building. Now you started to build, right? With your practice. What has changed in what you want compared to that little Vidhya who was just wanting to be in business?
I think it's become very like problem solving focused.
Yes.
Where for me, I want to see, number one, it's problem solving, but that there's also a transformation that occurs.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is in my case, right, if I'm dealing with a client, it's very important, number one, for me to understand, well, what are the hardships, the obstacles, the barriers, the problems that they have? And how I don't just want to solve it and just say, here, it's done. I want to enable them to be transformed so that they are better off in a position after we have, you know, basically problem solved than what we were before. So it sounds a bit complicated, but in simple terms is, have they basically stepped up and elevated after we've done this process of problem solving? I don't want to just come in, give a solution and exit, and they're pretty much in no better state. Yes, they may have, maybe a particular system is better, but have they themselves transformed? Because only if an individual or the group collective has transformed, will that impact then flow down into the business. And I think that's what's become really, really important to me. I want them to be a lasting change that will flow through.
It sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like it's not actually building things that is your passion. It's actually transforming.
And maybe that's actually then the change. It's initially it was a thing of I want to build, but now it's not so much how big can this business get, or what's the underlying revenue number or whatnot,
Yes.
and how many of this can I do, but rather what's the impact that it can leave, and are they in a better off position than what they were before I was able to basically work with them and help them.
Does transformation largely involve transforming organizations, or rather personnel structures? So like I'm thinking about, in auditing, we have those general controls, and I'm thinking about, okay, what in the system of a business is probably the greatest lever for transformation. It's probably not, okay, can we fix operating leverage, right? Maybe we need to be less leveraged on the operation side, or maybe we need to be less leveraged just from a debt perspective. Like, it's probably not that. It's probably, when I look at the general controls, organizational and personnel practices.
Yep.
Is it a lot of what you do just helping people be better, or helping people interact with each other better?
So I think the people part of what you said, that's 100% correct. So it comes down to people. I think what I probably do, and I'm nowhere near where I'd want to be. I'm like striving, I'm constantly learning, growing, and there's so much more I want to do. But with what I currently do, it's just helping people see, the problems for, probably one of the aspects is for what they are, so it's not overcomplicating it. And it's just saying, well, let's strip away the complexity and let's look at the problem. Let me help you. Also that support of saying, I'm here. You don't have to do this alone. Let's see how we can solve this. I think a lot of times like you spoke about organizations now, right? And like the default is to go try fix the system and fix this and fix that. But where the real change happens is in the actual person. If that person gets on board and they basically say, right, let's do this. I'm on board. How are we going to do this? What's the way forward? You're already half the way there. Because then you've actually got a team and you've got a backing. And you see that a lot probably in organizations, that if not particularly in any that I've worked in on that scale, but if you don't have the buy-in from the team, and that team culture is not on board with the way forward and the vision that maybe, let's say, the C-suite or management or leadership wants to do, you can get in the most expensive consultants to come and give you this very elaborate and beautiful solution. It's not going to go anywhere. It will gather dust unless you have the buy-in and the transformation from the people.
That is so big. We don't have a module in school that gets us to focus on people. Isn't that interesting? Because like, as you mentioned, like, that's where all the problems, that's where the greatest bottleneck lies.
Yeah. I mean, if you actually go back, think about school projects when you did in school. It would be super easy if it was like when you had a project on your own, because you know what you have to do, the deadlines, whatever it needs to go in that project. As soon as they add the element in of, we're going to assign you group members. I remember even my stress levels being like, oh my goodness, especially if you couldn't select your own group members.
Yeah, there was always that. Can't I choose?
And then the guys that would come on and be the slackers. Like you literally have a whole mix of people in a group setting. And this is at a school level. And this never ends. Because think about it. This happens from school. Then you go to varsity. And you also have that setting, whether it's in a studying dynamic. I remember when I was studying, we had a group project where we got assigned and we had to do presentations. Then you go into articles. Again, you work in not just with an internal team, with whether you're auditing or whether you're in a bank setting. You now also have to collaborate with people that are your clients. And then post that, it continues. So we are constantly engaging with people that are from all walks of life and all sorts of personalities. And are we taught enough on how to number one, be able to regulate ourselves, Because if we know how to regulate our own emotions and how to regulate ourselves, we'll be able to better regulate with others. And how to also, be professionally engaged. And yeah, you're right. That's probably, I know when I was in varsity, it wasn't taught.
Do you think it needs to, like, I know there is a sequence to things. I know that there is a process. You learn stuff, like in articles, right? You're going to be dealing with the people. But what do you think could be, I don't know, at every stage, even in articles, what do you think we could improve on the people side?
It's a good question. I think for me, when my relationships, when they started getting better with people outside, it's when I had a better relationship with myself.
Whew.
And I think that's probably very cliche, but it's only when you have that honest conversation with yourself, when you start to have that emotional maturity and self-awareness of your shortcomings, of how you react to things emotionally, on how are you dealing with your feelings and your thoughts, which are interchangeable, or they're tied and they trigger one another. Can you then know, how do I operate? What are my baselines? What sets me off? What triggers me? What energizes me? What drains me? So you need to have that knowledge of yourself. And only when you've start adding tools in your toolbox, which is a lifelong process. It's not just boom, I have it. I'm still constantly adding different tools. Think of it as like my little toolbox that I have. And every single day I learn something new. Let's say on something like communication, that I'm like, oh, okay, I've noticed when I'm in a heightened state of anxiety or stress, I can feel that my voice, it tends to maybe sound condescending. So how do I manage that? When I feel that, I'm like, right, take a deep breath and say, remember, I need to deal with this. I mustn't make someone else feel like I'm undermining them. That's a small tool I put in my toolbox. And that's the hardest thing when it comes to, let's say, like taking care of our own feelings, is that it is a lifelong process. And it's a lot of hard work, because with that also, you're also dealing with past traumas. You're dealing with, the way that you were brought up, your upbringing. You're dealing with past relationships, the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's why it's, for some people, it is probably the easier option to just kind of put that aside. And if you're in a work setting and something happens, is a bit of a reactive situation, instead of dealing with it, with a lot more like emotional maturity.
So you mentioned tools that you've been acquiring over the years, right? Let's go back again to the journey, and you mentioned that this was one of your struggles back in your journey to becoming a CA, of those limiting beliefs, right? And yeah, not feeling like you're enough, and those things that we all experience. Let's go back to you before and you after that. I'm sure it was probably maybe over articles or after you've qualified that you reached some point of self-assuredness. What was the process?
So interestingly enough, I feel like after articles, it's when you might, I know in my case, I probably reached a point where I was actually not as self-assured. So if you think about it, when you start the journey to become a CA, by grade 11, you more or less have, because by that point you would have applied to university and said, it's might going to be the CA route. So from grade 11 or grade 12, up until the end of third year, you've had this entire route like mapped out for you. There's minimal thinking. All you have to do is just show up, study, get through the exams, and it's done. And it's one foot in front of the other. You don't really have to think. But now come end of articles, they're just like, right, you're a CASA, go out into the world. Now what? That is the first time for many people, and well, I'm speaking for myself, that, and even some CAs that I've spoken to, that you start to think come third year in articles, you're like, okay, what next? Where do I go? What space would suit me? Do I go where I see the general, tidings are going? So a lot of people doing secondment, people are maybe trying the overseas audit route. Do I then maybe pick one of the clients that I audited offering me a position? And it's very easy to go into one of those roles because that's what's out there. Maybe be an audit manager. But to now figure out what is the space that is best for me? Where will I thrive? What will energize me? What aligns to my values? Because most likely at that point, have you ever actually taken the time to sit and say, well, what are my values?
Okay.
I've worked 3 years now, so I do have some experience in a professional environment. So yeah, when you say, was I assured at that point? No, I think it's only now as I've gotten much older, post leaving articles, where you start to understand this is what's important to me. In other words, what are my values? And where would that fit in the context of what career path? Because also in the terms of a CASA, it's such an amazing designation and the opportunities that are presented with it. But at the same time, the pressure or, the expectation that comes with it, it is quite a lot. And I think a lot of that is that self-pressure that you put on yourself because you've worked so hard to get to this point that now that you're here, you're like, okay, I'm here. Where's that big, where are the fireworks? Where's everything?
Where's that feeling? I'm meant to, where's the award?
Where's that high that I should get? And what's the next big thing? What is the next big thing? Because the big thing you've been working towards is that CASA. And now you have to figure out, well, no one is here to give me that roadmap. And it's if you take the time and you sit back and you say, well, what works for me?
Yeah.
It's a lot. And at that point, you are still quite young. So that's why I said this realization, it takes time. And I think only now can I say, I've only just started figuring out these are the spaces. The cues that I got when I was in articles and leaving articles. And then I also tried to fight and say no, that's not like the route that CA should do. Those cues are still there. And they are saying to me, hey, Vidhya, these cues have been popping up from a while back. You just haven't been listening because you've been trying to stick to a certain path. And that's just that push and pull journey that you go on after articles of really finding where is the space for me to thrive in.
There was a book that I read in, I think it was 2020. Because now I say last year and it's 2024 last year. It was 2023, I think. It's called Managing Oneself by Peter Drucker. And so basically it's about how knowledge workers in today's knowledge age should go about managing themselves in order to thrive and work in the working world, right? And the first 3 questions that people seldom ask themselves, which are absolutely crucial to your career, are the first one, what are my strengths? What are my values is the second one. And how do I work is the third. My thing around when I read that, I sort of feel like you need to do the pre-reading quotes of being aware that you need to start asking these questions the moment you enter articles, I think. I think you need to be aware that, I take myself now, I don't know everything yet, right? I only really know, my values on some level when I enter the workplace, so that I can sort of, see and compare and just be aware of how did I react to that situation? What was my instinct around this? And do I like this? Do I like that? I don't like this. I don't like that. That's where you get that practical that practical journey of finding your values. But I think it's so important just to start asking before.
Yeah. And I think probably the word to sum up what you're saying is curiosity. And I think we need, if I could go back to my younger self in articles, and if I give one word of advice to her, I'd say be fearlessly curious.
Yeah.
You know, coming out of the degree that we do to get into articles, it's a tough degree. And when we get out, we might have a bit of a chip on our shoulders, think that we know a lot, get into the workforce, and it's, you know, like we're like, ooh, we did it, you know, like, you know, brush a bit on your shoulders. You're like, yay, you know, I'm ready. And then you get in, you're like, wow, I know nothing. Like, you know a lot, but you also know nothing. You know, it's like it can actually happen at the same time, like a simultaneous thing. And my advice would be just like ask questions, be curious, talk to people. Like, yes, I understand that there are competencies and the exams to pass and there are things to do, but you will not be in that sort of environment where you have access to the people that you'll have access to, the different, depending where you do your articles. So let's say if it's an audit, you will not really have that access to, number one, people at so many different levels, from your fellow trainees to your managers, to your partners, to other support staff that are working in different divisions. So you basically have the access to like the audit firm, to the different types of clients. And if you go in with genuine and authentic curiosity to say, like, I want to learn, I want to understand, like I'm figuring this out, like share your story. People love to help. People want to share their stories. People want to, you know, like say, this is my journey, and in a way even like pay it forward. And that's only if someone engages with them on that level of, I'm genuinely curious, from a place of curiosity, like from a place of like authenticity, and there's no hidden agenda.
There was amazing insight that I got from this partner at a particular audit firm in Cape Town, and she said, you know, I hear you, right, on the thing of, you know, people want to help, but I think there's something more to it. People don't always want to help. I think people, and this is what she said, people want to help those who help themselves. And that's why it's a huge part of yours to be that fearlessly curious person, to get out of your shell and ask. You know, like, nothing is going to come to you. You have to, in fact, it does in some way come to you, but you have to open you have to open your eyes and open your mind to act towards that. That's how it really comes. Like, you know, you speak of, and it sounds pretty woo-woo, it sounds pretty like, whatever, of thoughts, of how your thoughts and your beliefs, they actively affect you. But man, like, where does an idea begin? Facebook was once an idea. It was just an idea. So it's not that people want to help you, it's that they want to help you if you help yourself.
Yeah. And if you approach them with that genuine curiosity and say, I'm here to learn, I'm here to understand. Like, show me, tell me.
Do your pre-reading. Do you know this? It was such a life-changing sort of insight that I use in my everyday of just, this is from a guy named Alex Omozi, he's a business dude in the US. Just do 5 minutes of prep. Always. Everywhere. Before you ask a question, do your 5 minutes. Before you approach that person, do your 5 minutes. Before you have a conversation with someone about a podcast, you know, like, do your 5 minutes, because that's helping yourself. That's the thing that people love to see that makes them help you.
Yeah. No, that's a great advice to actually give someone, is to prep. And I think, again, that ties to be curious, because if you're naturally curious, you'll always end up reading. It won't end up feeling like a chore, like, oh, okay, I've got to prep, because you're just you're like a worldly learner. Like it energizes you to just read up on something, listen to a podcast, engage with a colleague, a friend when someone says something, like watch a YouTube video, whatever it is. Like you'll always be in that mode of like just picking up things and not just picking it up and going in one ear and out the other ear. But when you also listen to it, interrogate it, question it.
Sure, that's
Don't. I think what happens, and I've noticed this myself, where I've said, "Hey, we're like inundated with information all around us," and I'll sometimes find myself just watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts, and then there's a point where I stopped. I said, "How do I actually feel about those points? Like, what is my take on it?" And sometimes I had to stop. I'm like, if someone almost had to do like a debate, where would I stand on this? And would I just regurgitate their point of view, or have I genuinely thought and processed and gone through and said, right, this is why I would back it, or this is maybe the things I wouldn't back, or whatever my stance is. And I think we need to be doing a lot more of that. So when you are curious and you are looking at the facts and you are doing your pre-reading or you are talking to people, obviously listen with respect and take in what they say. But it is also okay, whether it's with that person or even in your own space, to think about that point of view and say, well, where do I stand on it? So that we don't end up becoming almost like these like mechanical, robotic, we just information in, information out. We want, again, to be transformed by what we are processing and what comes in. So don't just be a, like this empty conduit. The information that must come in should, in one way or the other, have some sort of transformational effect on you. Obviously not with everything, because, we only have limited capacity. But just apply ourselves a little bit more.
You said this during our pre-coffee chat. You said, and I just remember just quoting these words: giving yourself permission to exist. Why should you do that, and when should you do that?
I think, well, why should we do that? Giving ourselves permission to exist. I think when I think about that, it's about giving myself a voice and saying that I matter. What I have to bring and contribute and say, I have a place at this table. Like there's a seat for me at this table. And that first and foremost, I can sit at that table even if I don't have that CASA designation behind my name. I am worthy and I am enough. And I think that was a big challenge for me to overcome, especially coming from someone that was very academically inclined, very much about getting the marks, getting the accolades, and that became my identity. But as I've gotten older, I'm like, that is not sustainable and it's not healthy. And I can't exist in a space where that is what defines me. And my worth has to come before any 4 letters. So the CASA or whatever it is. And giving myself that space to say, you are enough and you are worthy and you can be here before any accolades. And it's so important because you will go through so many seasons in life and through those ups and downs. And if you have to constantly measure where you are in life by, how much you've performed or what accolades or, whatever you get in as a benchmark, you'll never actually feel worthy. You'll never feel that you have that permission to exist and to be. Because once you've accepted that I am worthy, I can be here, will that authentic self start to show to the rest of the world? And it is weird. It's like when I came into myself, then I'm like, you know what? I have a voice. I can be here. I don't need to almost like show up all the time. Let me just be me first. It was amazing what it did in terms of, let's just say, with friends or even closer relationships, where I was no longer trying to impress. I was no longer trying to prove, hey, look at me. I have permission to be here because I'm doing this, this, and this. It was, I'm here because I'm worthy. And people see that energy. And people welcome that energy.
I actually love that so much because it reminded me of this idea that I saw on one of my friends. He's actually I haven't released this episode, but he was on the podcast. He sent me this video of this concept of how we usually tend to go about goals and achievements and like the stuff like the CA. We want to first have, then do, and then become. We first want to have the title. I'm a CA. All right. And then we want to like, okay, let's go do some CA stuff. Let's go do some cash flow, blah, blah, you know? And then we want to become the CA. We want to do what really, we want to espouse what the CA espouses. But I think that's not the way that the best success, like, I mean, success is such a huge term, but I think just on the whole, the success of achieving inside and outside everything that you want, that's not how it's done. I think it goes, you become, you do, and then you have. You are a CA now. You have what it takes. It's just a matter of time. You are the difference maker. You are the impact creator today. So you're going to go and do what needs to be done. And you will therefore have the title that was always there. But, you just have to polish it and just dust it off. And 7 years later, here we are,
I think, once you have that title, like I said, there's that pressure to, and the thing is, CAs are high performers. We forget just what level we operate on.
Oh, yeah.
Because the thing is, when your peers in your group are all CAs, then you think the rest of the world is like that.
Yeah.
But when you go out into the real world, you realize, no, we are like the 1%ers. It's not even from an ego thing or anything. No. It's from a thing of like like the CAs are the cream of the crop. Number one designation. People around the world, if they know that's a South African CA, they're like, that's a performer. That's a high performer.
Yeah.
So we already have that. And I think that comes with so much, there's a pressure and expectation once you qualify to go and shoot the lights out. But I think, like you said, before that's even done, it needs to be right. Like, let the dust settle. And it's a thing of like, who am I? What is important to me? Where am I now? What are these things that I need to that I need to have like that self-awareness of that may stop me from really going to where my potential and where I could be. And those are things, whether it's the self-doubt, the imposter syndrome, whether it's uncertainty, whether it's fear. What are those things? So like, for me, again, if I could tell someone that's like just qualifying. So I know in a lot of yours, there's emphasis on almost getting into articles and finishing from varsity. But then it's like, and then once you're done with articles, and then what?
Yeah.
You go out into the, big bad world, so to say.
Yeah.
And it's like, let the dust settle for a little bit. And sometimes like just take a beat and say, where am I in the sea of like these CAs? Who am I? And what's important to me?
Yeah. I feel like if you just get to the bottom of that, I have just an inkling of a feeling that is where you are not striving to be the best, which is usually an ego-driven mission, but you're striving to be the only you. When you're striving to be yourself, I feel like when you get down to what are your values, what is it that matters to me, you operate on a plane that is although the competition is real, it is really a blue ocean. It's just, no one can compete when you're just on your purpose. Like it's no one else's, it's yours.
Yeah. And I think the more you have those values, your vision, your own personal like mission statement of what's important to you, the less what is going on around you will impact you. So for example, as you progress and you go through your career, CAs, this is amazing thing with the CA designation is that people can go all sorts of different directions. And I think there needs to be almost more done on that to show people in articles and like what can you do after you qualified, because I think unfortunately the word chartered accountant, the word accountant seems to kind of pigeonhole people and they think, oh, it just means finance. And whilst yes, the majority it is in the finance realm, that's not all that CAs can do. CAs they're business leaders.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So the more that people can see like what's out there, the more empowered they feel. And then that can also help them say, well, what's important to me? But again, this is not just a once-off exercise. It's something that will continually happen. But what's important is that you have to, it's that statement of, you don't know what you don't know. And once you get that statement, you're like, right, now that I don't know what I don't know, let me go out there and start questioning, start asking, start seeing like what's important to me. What are the different avenues I could do? What are the places I wouldn't want to go? So sometimes
that's a good
it's also
question.
very easy to say like, oh, okay, I'd love this and this and this. But then now that you've done 3 years of articles, you can say, hey, I actually know I'm just not cut out, or I don't want this, 9 to 5, or I don't want this late night, 12-hour a day crunch work time. And that's a good thing to know. And it doesn't matter what your peers are doing. It doesn't matter that people are maybe, let's say they're going to banks and investment this and private equity. Like that's great. Like if that's what they want to do. But figure out your values and like your strengths, like you were saying, and how do you work? Have those things and start asking yourself those questions. And don't feel any less than if you are different to what let's say your peer group is doing. It doesn't make you any less than. If anything, it actually it elevates you because it's putting you in a position where you have more certainty and direction in what works for you.
You said just before this that, and I want to even dive into it, that even in the same year, in an academic year, like you could be CTA, you could be wherever, everyone's at different places. Can you please go into that?
I mean, if I think back to my varsity time, so I actually repeated a year, same as you, third year. So I also repeated third year, and that was a big shock, not just to me, but to everyone around me. Especially because I came in, coming from A's and top student in high school, and now it's like
This typical
and
CA
then you're
story.
like, oh, what happened? Especially when your peers that were not getting the A's in high school, they were fine. It cruised to 4th year, and they were okay.
Yeah.
And I think when I say like everyone is in a different place, so when I think back to that time, like my mental health, I was not in a good space. I was in a very bad space. So where it ended up spilling over to was in my academics. And that's where, that's where I took the knock. And some people are able to compartmentalize. Some people are able to really deal well with stress and stressful situations and put it into and manage it and still push through with their studies. And in some cases you can't. And I think everyone is going through something different. So you know how you mentioned that you got advice from people now that you're going into your final year at varsity, how everyone's dealt with it.
Different.
It's all different because everyone is telling it from a very different place, a point in time. So if you imagine like everyone is telling you a story, the ending might be the same, which is yes, you're going to pass, but they're all reading from different chapters in a book.
Sure.
And most likely you'll be able to get common themes from them and patterns. You know, the underline will stay the same, but we've all journeyed and come to a place which is made by our past, our present state of mind, and our future intentions of where we want to go.
Run your race. That is such an important tenet, because when you look up and you look to your right, you think they're beating you, but if you actually look at the whole track, we're literally on different entire trails. That's the thing about it. We're on different trails, we're at different stages on the trails, and yeah, it just doesn't help anyone. The comparison, the chronic comparison. In closing, if you could go back to first year, second year, maybe even high school Vidya, what would you tell her?
Don't be afraid to take risks. And it's okay to make a mistake. It's not going to break anything. You're going to be okay, but you'll be all the better for it. You'll be more resilient, and you will have grown in one way or the other. Like take that risk, take that plunge, ask those questions. Like don't feel afraid. And I think I'm not alone, even when I say this, like speaking to other CAs as well. And it seems to be one of the themes that have come up. People are like, take risks.
You can afford to.
Yeah, you can afford to. Take that plunge, take the risk. Like you are at the very beginning of your CA journey. There's a long way to go.
Yeah.
So let's make it interesting.
Yeah. Be fearlessly curious. Take the risk, take the plunge.
That's it.
Guys, if you have not already, please, tell us, please follow this. Check out the Blackbox if you have any rich aunties and rich fathers or uncles who have business problems and people problems, most importantly. I hope it does not end, but that it begins in CASA. Vidya, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.